now. Pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Orange, as we are 12:15 every Thursday throughout the season. Coach, happy Halloween to you. I guess before we get into football, what's your favorite Halloween candy?
I don't know, some type of chocolate candy bar, I guess. Any type. I actually like the what are those little crayon? They look like a crayon with the white at the top. Candy corns. I would say candy corns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Candy corns.
All right,
It's like something you that'll always be there, because at the end, those and Tootsie Rolls people won't eat, so you end up always having those at the end.
Yeah, that was a hot.
It's a good strategy though, because he's right. They're always left over, so
It'll always be there. So what you end up eating at the end was that, because everybody else get everything else.
That's right. All right, the kids always get what they want, and then you get the leftovers. I totally get that. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
All right, Coach. We've spoken to a couple people on your team and on your staff, and everybody's got different opinions on this. What do you do after a game like that? Do you not ever forget it, or do you flush it and get rid of it?
You can't forget it. You got to talk about it first. You got to go through it, see it, analyze it, watch it, wait, then watch it again, and then right away. So Friday I went out to recruit, and I was watching it on the plane, and I watched it coming back, and I was just sending stuff to different coaches, talking to different players, going through it. Did it again Saturday. I had a couple players come over, and we watched regular football, and I would bring up things just sporadically to them, not really trying to keep it always there. Then Sunday we really communicate and get it all through all the issues, and you kind of get everything off your chest, get everything out there, and then you're able to go practice Monday, and then on Tuesday, I think it's officially flushed, because you got to get ready for the next opponent, because they're really a good football team. So that's kind of how we did it, how we moved on with it. It was a process, because you played so early in the week, you played Thursday, so you still had Friday, you still had Saturday, and you just feel I was just pissed every day, to be honest. So it's dang. Until it's time to go and compete against another team. Once you watch the next team again, and it's okay, they're a really good football team. We better lock in on this. You can sit around and cry if you want. You're going to get your butt beat by that team twice, and just try not to do that,
Yeah, and I spoke with Elijah Robinson on Monday, and he said exactly the same thing you just said. You can't let yourself get beaten by the same team twice. And I know it's easier said than done, right? Especially for Kyle McCord. I'm sure he's had a tough week after that performance. How do you? It's one thing to say it. How do you make sure that there isn't a hangover, and that his confidence isn't shaken after a game in which if we're being honest, a lot of fluky things happened, right? Balls batted up, guy intercepting a ball laying on the ground. How do you make sure that it doesn't affect him now in the Virginia Tech game?
Because you just put him in situations that gets him back in the game mode. You still practice that way. You practice different things. You remind him about some of the mistakes that weren't on him. Guys, it bounced off other guys. Guys land on the ground, catch picks, and just different things of that nature. But you say, we got to move on. You're a quarterback. You'll be playing in the NFL one day. You want to carry on and worry about that, and it's going to affect what you're going to do in the future. So let's focus, lock in, and let's go off daily. And then just tell him, hey, this pass wasn't a good pass. That's why that happened. So lock in and throw that pass the right way this time. Hey, I didn't coach you right on Monday, so I got to do this right this Monday, so that way the same thing won't happen. And, it's just, you got to move on. He's man enough. That's why he's the quarterback and running our program. If we didn't think that he was tough enough to handle it, he wouldn't be the quarterback. But I think he's more than tough enough to handle all that comes with being a quarterback, and understanding that. And just understand that sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way. And so he figured that out. He found that out on last Thursday night.
One more on the Pitt game. I don't want to dwell on it. It was a week ago. But one question we've gotten a lot from listeners and callers is about leaving the starters in the whole way. And, obviously things did not go right. And the game kind of went sideways on you, and it was out of hand. But, one thing Paulie and I both noticed, there was no quit in that team. And I know you made that point after the game. Was it a message you were trying to send to the team, leaving the starters in? Or can you, I guess, explain to our listeners and our viewers, why those guys were in as long as they were?
So, up until it was about 4 minutes, almost 3 minutes, something on the clock, I still wanted to win the football game. I thought we would win the football game. That's how much faith I have in our players and in ourselves, that things just happen. Let's score, let's go. We just took too long to score a lot of times. So just wanted to win the game. And then I wanted to make sure that these guys knew that we're not quitting. It has nothing to do with it. Like, you're going to play football the right way. There's a way the game is supposed to be played, so let's make sure we keep playing that way, no matter who's in the game, no matter what's going on with what. There's a certain way that people expect to see Syracuse football play football, and make sure you show that no matter what the score is. Whether we were up 50, down 50, there's a certain brand that people expect to see when it's time to do that, and that's what I wanted to show. It's almost like something I heard someone say before. It might have been Denzel Washington training day. It's like, we got a brand, you know what I mean? And when you come to see Syracuse, you want to see that brand. You don't want to come to see Syracuse and we look like a high school football team, or we look like something else. There's a certain brand. Like when you go buy Pepsi and you open that Pepsi and you go to drink it, if it was Sprite, you wouldn't like that, right?
Not at all.
And that's kind of like,
especially Paulie. Paulie drinks a lot of Pepsi.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to make sure that we understand and know. Like when you come and see Syracuse and you watch us do something, we're gonna do it the right way. We're gonna do it with pride. We're gonna do it with respect. We're gonna just make sure we represent the Ass the right way.
All right, let's turn our attention now to this next opponent. And you talk about, teams having an ability to bounce back. If anybody's season could have gone sideways, it was Virginia Tech. They were 2-3 after that controversial finish against Miami. Really, probably should have won that game. There was that controversial call on the pass in the end zone at the end. They lose it. They find themselves 2-3. And look at what they've done since then. They've won 3 games in a row. They're playing about as well as anyone in the conference right now. What stands out to you when you look at the Hokies?
I think they're a good team. I think they got a really good quarterback, and I think to win football games, you got to have a leader at quarterback. They can run the football, and that's something that you want to try to establish in college football. When you can run the ball, it usually means you're pretty tough. So they do a good job running the ball. That running back's patient. They got a real good tight end. They got a good group of receivers. Defensively, APR, Woodson and Jones, Phillips, Delaney, Strong. I mean, they got a bunch of guys that can play. Nelson, Cole, Peebles. Like, they got so many guys that are good players on defense. They play together. So, I just think they got a good team. Coach is doing a good job with them. And when you stick together and you all got the same goal and you're all on the same mission, it seems like they're all going the same direction.
How's the health of your team right now? Any injuries we need to be made aware of heading into Saturday?
I think I'm not sure who's. We got some guys that are injured. What did they tell me? He wouldn't. Y'all wouldn't know who he is. Other guys, the other guys starting to come back. Of course, Yasin Willis won't play this week. He's he's out. He's banged up. So Yasin won't be in. But next man up. I think Hart, Malachi James gonna do a good job at running back. So it's just next man up mentality.
How about being home for the first time in a month and, homecoming weekend, Orange Central weekend, as they call it, up on the SU Hill? How important is it for you and your team to put on a good showing in front of all the alums in the house?
Just want to go compete in front of them so that way when they watch the game, they could be excited and happy. We get the opportunity to play early, so them being able to come there and see a football game early in the morning and see their team go out and compete their butts off is all I ask for. And for them to be extremely loud, especially when we're on defense. I'm like some record-breaking measurements. I know they do the meter all the time of seeing how loud we are, where we at. Just to continuously break it throughout the game will be a good deal for us.
All right, last question from me. I know the topic of November came up on Monday. Kyle McCord talked about it after the game on Thursday. He said, we know the history here. We can't let this thing kind of snowball. And I know that you and your staff weren't here. A lot of the players weren't here, but there were some players here that, Justin Barron and Marlo Wax and, those guys lived through these Novembers. Fans want to know why it's going to be different this time around in November. So did you address that at all with your team and especially with the returning players about, I know what's kind of happened here in the past, this thing's going to be different this time around?
Well, I think November is for contenders. And if we think we're a contender, we got to go out and show it. Guys that don't go out and put on a good performance, they're just not there to be able to contend. You're not looking to get into the big dance. And we want to compete. We're competitive. I'm competitive, super competitive. And our guys, I think they're developing as men. Do we have a long way to go? Yes. There's a lot you have to do when you're building a program. And I know that everyone wanted us to come and go, including myself. We were supposed to be 12-0 when you look at it and win every game and turn the program around and do it in 1 year. I think a lot of things Some things take a little bit of time, but we're going to go out and bust our butt. And November's for a contender. And if we think we're contenders, we got to go out and be ready to compete.
All right, Coach. Well said. 12 o'clock kick inside the Dome on Saturday. Best of luck as always. Thanks for the time. We look forward to chatting with you again next week.
All right, y'all be safe.
All right, you as well. Head coach Fran Brown joining us here on the show.
He's got his American Coaches Show tonight. You can catch that on TK99 from 7 to 8. And then right here on Q Sports Talk